One day each of us will close our eyes for the final time. Our hearts will slowly cease to beat, and our last breath will whisper through silent lips as we leave this existence behind. Yet is this truly the end? Do we simply cease to be as the last spark races from our brains along cooling neurons to its final destination in oblivion? Or does the part of us that is uniquely our own continue beyond the grave? Is there existence beyond the temporal? And if so, what mysteries might that existence hold? There are those who would have us believe that our lives end with our final tomorrow, that the physical world is both our beginning and ultimate end. There are also those who reject this explanation, instead contending that the physical world is simply one aspect of an existence which may stretch on through eternity. For now, we are left to wonder if the strange apparitions are a product of our feverish minds, or if ghosts do haunt the fringes of the material world. The ultimate truth may lie somewhere between, unknown to us until we each pass beyond that veil. And between our searching eyes and that veil lies a path that leads us to the shadows of legend. Today we have Lee Ward. She's going to share with us some of the paranormal experiences that she's had. Miss Ward, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
I understand that you've had some paranormal experiences.
Well, I guess that's what you would call them. I've never been a believer, but now I have to at least consider it as a possibility.
Yes.
My husband died about 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends said, if anybody will try to contact somebody from the afterlife, it'll be him. And I just didn't think much about it. But I did have a few dreams that were kind of meaningful, depending on how you interpret them. But I thought they were kind of meaningful. But I still wasn't feeling like I was necessarily contacted from beyond the grave.
Were these dreams asking you to do something or telling you that you should do something, anything like that?
They were generally trying to let me know that everything's okay.
I see.
I think I was kind of worried about, did I take good enough care of him when he was sick and everything? And I think these were kind of reassuring dreams to let me know it's okay.
Okay.
And then one time the light in the hall came on by itself.
Yes.
And it hadn't been working. I mean, it needed repair. I'd had an electrician there at one point, and he couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come on.
Okay.
And so one night I woke up and it was on. Just things like that, little things that maybe, you might not really look for an explanation because they were such small things.
Well, but they were strange.
They were strange. They were unexplainable. In fact, I had a friend staying with me at one point, and I was at work one day, and she was at my house, and I told her I'd try to get home early. Mm-hmm. I wasn't able to. So when I got home, she was so happy to see me. She said, I thought you were home because I heard the back door open, and I heard footsteps, and I said something, and you didn't answer me, so I went and looked, and there was no one there. And, I mean, this is not a kooky woman. She's a very intelligent, educated woman, but it scared her so bad that she decided she would talk to Joe and let him know who she was and why she was there so he wouldn't do something to her. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, she really believed there was something there.
Well, now, did any activity repeat itself after she talked to him?
No.
Okay.
No, she just said, this is who I am. I'm Lee's friend, and I'm not here to do any harm, just so, don't hurt me. And then there was nothing, which this is a little aside, but I work at the Daily Independent, so people always talk about where the work is haunted and all. And mm-hmm. I had times where I was in there early in the morning all by myself for at least an hour. And some of those stories, I guess, kind of made me nervous. And there were parts of the building that made strange noises. So one time I just went back to where they were making strange noises. And I said, now look, you can see that I come in here every day and I work hard and I want the best for the paper. And if you're here, I assume you do too. So you need to quit making weird noises and quit scaring me so that I can do my job. And then I never had another problem. And I write that off to psychology. gave myself, I healed myself using psychology, but who knows?
Well, I mean, the possibility exists that it wasn't just what you said. It was something else there that had previously been involved in the production of the paper and wanted things to run smoothly.
Right. Well, I had a couple other things happen at home, too. One night, I couldn't sleep, so I got up and I sat in the living room. I was on the computer, and I kept hearing water run, and I couldn't figure out what that was going on. And then I realized that the coffee pot, Mr. Coffee, had come on by itself. And, you know, it scared me to death, and I hopped in the bed and pulled the covers up over my head. Not because I thought, oh, my husband's spirit is in there making coffee, but because it was so counter to everything I had ever believed and known. That's what was really scary. So the next day I looked at the coffee pot, which didn't really belong to me. It was a friend's coffee pot. And it hadn't been set to automatically come on at any time or anything. I mean, it just started making coffee. And that's significant because my husband loved coffee and he drank coffee at all hours. So it seems like that was a big statement that he was making to let me know that he's here.
Right, and there's a precedent there. There's a possibility that it could have been him doing that.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying if you want to step into that, the notion that spirits are real, then and that seems like a good possibility. But eventually, I invited the Greenup County Paranormal Society to come to my house for a ghost hunt.
Yes.
And I was going to write a story. I did write a story about the experience of, having ghost hunters at your house. And we did, I don't know what the names of all the equipment that they use. I can't remember. But there is one, I think it might be called a ghost box, where they can, the spirits can use words.
Can speak.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a common. It's a common ghost hunting piece of equipment.
Okay, so we were able to get one spirit that said it was Joe, and he said he wasn't talking very much. There was another spirit there, and this guy said his name was Ray, and that he had died on this property in the 1800s, and he had a whole story. He was very talkative, but Joe didn't say very much, and finally he was able to say scared. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound like Joe. He wasn't afraid of anything.
Yes.
And I finally realized that at one point, after he died, within a month or so, I actually said out loud in the house, I said, if you're here, don't scare me. Don't do something to scare me. And realized that he was saying he just wasn't going to make his presence known because he didn't want to scare me.
I see.
And I guess he had already seen that he scared me with that coffee pot trick. So anyway, after that incident with the ghost hunters, I just said, when I'm alone in the house the next time, I said, you're not scaring me. I'm okay with it. You do what you want to do. Express yourself how you want and don't worry about it. So about a year later, the ghost hunters came back, and he was much more talkative.
Yes.
I had gotten a dog, and he actually said the dog was cute. We just had to ask questions and get like one-word answers. And sometimes you didn't get an answer. I mean, I don't know really how that works, but I was a little more convinced after that. And then, Charles, I don't know if you were working at the Independent when this happened, but we did a section of about the paranormal.
Yes.
And we had the ghost hunters, the Greenup ghost hunters, come hunt through the building. Were you there for that? I can't remember.
I wasn't present for it, but I do remember them coming in.
Okay. So I was there because it wasn't my story to write, but I just thought it'd be fun to do. And at one point we split up into two groups. And the group I was with, and you might know what this terminology is too, but one of the people, and she was an employee, she wasn't a ghost hunter, but she enjoys that type of thing. She had like some kind of stone that was on a chain, like a necklace. And we used it as like a sort of a pendulum. And after working with it a little bit, determined that one way it would swing would mean yes, and one way it would mean no.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of doing that, or is this something new to you?
No, that's not a common tool that I've seen in ghost hunting, but I mean, it stones and things of that nature, prism seems to be more in the realm of other types of spiritualism and, in fact, witchcraft.
Well, we had established by, like, I guess typically you hold the stone on a string or a chain over a glass of water, and you say, "Is this water?" And then if that, you see which way it's going to swing for yes. So you strictly ask yes or no questions. So we were all asking different questions, and we determined that there was a spirit there, and it was male, and it had not worked at the paper. It had not died on the site of the paper. And somebody asked it if it was attached to someone who works at the paper, and it said yes.
Okay.
And one of the green up ghost hunters started kind of snickering. He says, "I know who it is." And I said, are you attached to somebody sitting at this table? And it said yes. And I said, "Are you attached to me?" And it said yes. And I said, "Is it Joe?" And he said yes. And of course, my ghost hunter friend said, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" And it said yes. And anyway, I went on to ask, did he have any dogs with him? Because, we had several dogs together.
Yes.
And I had lost my favorite dog, Hilda. And so I said, "Do you have any dogs with you?" And he said yes. And I said, Is it Hilda? And he said yes. And I said, "Are there any other dogs?" And he said no. So at that point, it seemed kind of, I don't know, it was just hard for me to believe that he's attached. I never really thought they attached to people. But it was really kind of hard to just flat out deny the existence of a spirit after that experience.
Well, there is, to throw something in here, there is a school of thought that believes that sometimes it's people themselves that are haunted rather than locations. So,
well, I guess that's true, but I live in the house that we lived in together, and
yes.
He grew up in it and spent a lot of his life here. And I thought he would surely be attached to this house and this property if he was attached to anything, but I don't know. I mean, if it's possible, then I guess he is attached to me, and I like to think the dog is also attached to me.
Well, speaking of the dog, how does the dog you have now react to this kind of activity?
I haven't really noticed him reacting to anything at all like that.
Okay.
I don't know if the activity, maybe it's the kind of activity that I've gotten used to, so I don't pay that much attention at times. And maybe he's kind of taking his cue from me and not getting upset or angry or frightened or anything. But he's not really shown any, like he's paying any attention. Oh, another thing that I've noticed in this house, and thank you for reminding me, when I go to bed, the dog will eventually get in bed with me, but he doesn't always start out in bed with me. And there's also a cat that sometimes gets in bed with me. Well, sometimes I'll be in bed and I think the cat's jumped up on the bed because it felt like, something gentle settling onto the bed. And then I look and there's no cat there. So I think, if it's my husband's spirit or his energy or something, maybe that's what that is that I'm feeling on the bed.
Well, that's a possibility, yes.
And then one thing that our ghost hunters also told me, the sunroom, which is the farthest back in the house, they seem to think it's sort of a pathway for spirits. And I live close to the VA hospital. So, I thought at first, wow, all the spirits coming through my sunroom. But I guess, the thought is that I live close to the VA hospital and there could be, deaths there and spirits traveling. And for whatever reason, there's some kind of route through my house that they take.
Well, that's a possibility. Spirits are believed to congregate around places like hospitals, graveyards, things like that, where there was an inordinate amount of death. So,
right.
Well, it doesn't explain them really going through your house, but
well, that particular room used to be outside. It's an add-on, And I don't know. Maybe there was something there before and they just continue traveling that route. I don't know. One thing that was funny was my house has got a couple of hot spots in it. And so one of the fellows came in and immediately he's like, oh, this is a portal. No, wait a minute. Maybe it's not a portal. And then the next guy that came in, and they hadn't seen each other or anything. He just came right in the house and he did the same thing immediately. Oh, that's a portal. And the guy goes, no, I've already checked it out it's not a portal. It's just bad insulation, I guess. But that about wraps up the instances I can think of. I mean, I'm the kind of person who maybe doesn't notice everything that other people might notice. I was at a friend's house one time and she told me, the house was haunted. And a little later she goes, oh, did you hear that? And I said, yeah. So, and she was telling me, oh, that's the ghost, But to me, it just sounded like, typical run-of-the-mill creaking and cracking of a house.
Now, having started out as a skeptic and then being somewhat won over by all this, where do you stand right now on your opinion and your beliefs on the paranormal?
I believe that there are things that are happening that we can't explain, and we call them paranormal. And some of those things might be explainable. We just don't know the explanation yet. And some of them maybe won't be, because I don't think we're supposed to know everything. I don't think we're necessarily supposed to know what happens after we pass. So I think a lot of it will remain in question. I also think, though, that human beings have a whole lot more. We've lost touch with a lot of our primitive instincts and primitive abilities. And I think it might have something to do with that. I mean, I think we have a sort of an ESP that we don't understand how to use, because you may remember the statistic, but there's such a large percentage of our brains that we don't use.
Yes.
So I wonder what it's there for. Maybe, it's just become like an appendix. We don't use it and we've forgotten how to use it, and we don't, maybe it's just there for protection, but maybe it's there for use that we no longer can identify and understand.
And that's a possibility, definitely, yes.
Not that your appendix, that we've lost maybe it had a use at one time too. I don't know, but, the human body evolves, the human mind evolves. So I just think that we've lost touch with a lot of things. And if we could get back into understanding a lot of primitive ways of human beings, that maybe some of the paranormal questions we have might be answered.
That's a possibility.
Yeah. But I'm not dismissing what happens in my house. And even though I thought I might be scared to see some of these things happen, I look forward to it. I look forward to the next thing Joe is going to do to show himself here at home.
Now, with the exception of your home and at the independent newspaper building, have you experienced any other kind of paranormal activity anywhere else?
I really don't think I have. I think I hadn't paid attention, and being a confirmed non-believer, probably didn't, if something had happened, I just probably didn't notice it. But even now that things have happened here that I've seen with my own eyes, I still haven't seen it happen elsewhere.
Okay. So what would you say to fellow skeptics, where you, given that you used to be a skeptic, what would you say to current skeptics, I guess would be a better way of saying that?
I would just say that you should be more open-minded and realize there are lots of possibilities out there. We don't know the answers to everything. So, to keep an open mind. And I encourage people to be skeptical about everything. That's how you learn, and that's how you do figure out what is true and what is not true. So, keep being a skeptic, but also keep a little bit of an open mind, because it can happen. I mean, it happened here in my house, so that makes me think it could happen anywhere.
That makes sense. Perfect sense. Would you have any other experiences that you would care to share?
No, I guess not. Charles, I wish I did, but no, I think that those are the highlights of my experience with the paranormal. And I mean, I'm not even going to say what it's really all about. I don't know, but it certainly seems like my husband trying to communicate.
And it would be difficult to say that it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you would explain it otherwise. So, and it's, and another thing too is that it is a comfort to think that someone that you lost who was really close like that, it's a comfort to think that they're still around and that they're with you, they're looking out for you. The way that my ghost hunter friend said it, that is that he's waiting for me. And I said, you mean he's waiting for me to die? He wants me to die? And they're like, no. He's just waiting. To him, in his dimension or wherever he is, time is irrelevant.
Right.
And he's just waiting. And I like thinking that my dog's waiting also. I mean, it's just a way to keep their memories alive and just feel connected.
It is a very comforting thought when you think of it that way.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And strangely, I don't get scared. I mean, I'm a big chicken. I'm not necessarily a brave person, and in terms of something in the house or whatever. But I don't find it a bit scary. I mean, I did find the coffee pot coming on by itself very scary. But otherwise, I guess I've just sort of adjusted to the idea that, it's just Joe. It's not like he's here to hurt me. He's here to feel like he's home.
Exactly, yes.
That's my story.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us. And on that note, you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too, Charles.
This is Charles Romans, and on behalf of myself and our guests, thank you for joining us on this walk through the shadows of legend. If you like what you heard, please follow us and visit our website at shadowsoflegend.com and support our Patreon page to help keep the content flowing. And if you would like to be a guest and share your own brush with a stranger paranormal, don't hesitate to email us and include a contact number. The strange and surreal, the normal and the paranormal are all aspects of the world in which we live. As you reflect upon the stories we have shared, keep in mind that the people sharing these stories are actual, real people just like us. Were the stories shared compelling enough to be given credibility, or should they be relegated to the deeper part of the shadows? But when determining this, it might be a good idea to keep an open mind, because when we look around, we might discover that our own world is less brightly lit than we once thought. Until next time, I'll be waiting for you in the shadows of legend.